Welcome to the Life with a Difference podcast, a platform to amplify the voices of those living with a visible difference, and also to provide relevant information from industry leaders and experts. So just to start, I always ask all my guests whether they'd like questions up front, and you're one of the very strange people that say they like to wing it, which you people freak me out. Like, I'm a massive over-preparer. And so I'm going to try and wing it too. Like, I still have notes, I've got to be honest, but this is baby steps for me. I'm going to try and be loosey-goosey as well.
Nice.
To start, do you mind introducing yourself and explaining a bit about your visible difference, please?
So I'm Molly Patch, and quite clearly I have no hair. So I've got alopecia universalis, so that's complete hair loss on my whole body. So none on my head, no eyebrows, no eyelashes, nothing. I'm like a dolphin.
I tell you, that's something that I want to jump straight into, to be honest with you. Like, when we went to the Change in Faces meetup, when me and Molly met, it was all kind of, everyone's kind of tiptoeing around each other at the start and being all shy. Like, I wish I could remember what you said, but you threw some banter at me, and I was like, "Oh, cool, we're talking like people. This is fun." You always you have a really good sense of humour about it. You seem you present as kind of quite confident and calm in yourself. How do you manage that line when it comes to banter? Because obviously there's people that have that privilege to throw comments out, and there's people, I'd say, that potentially don't. And you also don't want to be that person that's too sensitive and getting offended all the time, but there is still a line. How do you manage that?
I think it's something I've had to teach myself or learn from other people. Like, I've always been quite a sociable person, and I think especially like the family I've grown up with, like I've got two older brothers, they're twins, and they're hands down the funniest people that I know. But we've always had that sort of relationship, that banter, and my parents as well. And, you know, even just being in that environment, we've always been able to just toe the line. And like you learn from the people around you. You can kind of see, like, okay, I like to think I can take it from like first interaction, like how I can sort of be with someone, but I also know that I have an ability to maybe make people feel a bit like comfortable and okay to sort of take the piss out of me, and hopefully it can go back and forth. But there's like, I never would go into anything, like, I feel like you have to learn to lead with kindness and empathy. And I'd like to think that's how I kind of banter in a way. Like, I would never want to cross the line. And if I do, you instantly own up to it immediately. And you're like, okay, I can learn from this and move forward in a slightly different way. Yeah, I think I've always sort of been like that. Like, humor is definitely one of my coping mechanisms. And even when I went with my alopecia, I'd say I have to lead it. So if it was anyone else's visible difference, they have to lead that. And that's how I know the line, I guess. Like, where I've had people before, you know, I've joked about my alopecia, and then I've had someone say something, and then I instantly say, like, hang on, you can't say that. Like, this isn't your thing that you've not experienced this, so you can't really joke like that to me. And I'll call them out on it. Like, it's you know, the only people who can lead with it are my brothers. And because I know, obviously, it would never come from a place of malintent. Whereas I'm not saying like people have that approach to things, but, you know, even when my mum, for example, you know, it's been a real learning curve for her to sort of know what she can and can't say to me. And that's not easy for anyone around. But yeah, I think I would always, if someone leads with it, then, you know, okay, like, that's how we can communicate, and that's how we can engage with one another. If they don't, and they're, you know, that's fine as well. Like, everyone's different. You can't expect everyone to respond to something in the same way as you. So a long, very, very short answer there.
No, please, the longer the better, honestly. Just, go for it. We've got no time restraints at all. No, it's interesting. I think that one of the things is to just trust your gut and trust your instinct. You can kind of tell when people are being malicious or being nasty or being cruel, and you can also tell when there is no malice meant. So trying to double guess yourself a little bit. One thing, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but one of the things my therapist said was, pretend it rather like you having the condition, it was someone you loved. So
Mm,
pretend your wife has the condition and she's really conscious of it, and someone has made that comment to your wife. How would you react in that situation? That helps me to kind of step back and judge and weigh my response as to
mm,
whether to really snap back and get
yeah,
really annoyed or to try and be a bit kinder about it. But it is a really hard one because yeah, you don't want everyone around you to be tiptoeing around you all the time, do you? But
no,
yeah, it's difficult.
no, I completely agree. I think, I've had these conversations with my mum and my dad. Like, I'm very lucky with the support that I have from my family, and
Mm.
and my mum's always said, like, I can never, as much as I try to, I can never understand what you've experienced. I see it through your lens, but I can't. I don't have that experience. I just know how you felt through going through this. And it's strange. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm in like quite a. I turn 30 next month, so it's been one of those things. And I'm very, very reflective at the moment. I think, especially when it comes to my alopecia, because my all my hair fell out when I was 18. Like, I'd had it previously, and then it was basically one weekend. It was like, bye. Um,
Was it literally one weekend,
Pretty much,
or
yeah.
was it? Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
Maybe like everyone's experience is slightly different. I had it, so I can remember it. So there were two separate occasions when it was like, oh no, this is what's happening. And I remember I was up here, both my brothers went to Nottingham University, and I was up visiting them for the weekend. And I think they both played water polo. So I was like, I'm going to go and play as well. Cause, like, obviously little sister, like, I'm competitive. And I remember coming out the shower, and I was sort of struggling with it quite a bit beforehand, and I'd found ways to like hide it and cover it up. And like, I had, like, not to sound arrogant, I had like really long blonde hair, like it was unreal. I should have just shaved it all off, to be honest. But I remember going in the shower afterwards, and just like clumps of my hair falling out all from the top of my head, and just not being able to take a hat off for like, you know, the rest of the day. And I was going back into work the next day, and I worked in a school at the time. And I just remember like going in, and sort of my mum took me in because she knew I was like fragile, and just being sat in the car, and I just like, I can't go in. Like, you know, whether or not they intend to be, kids can be quite cruel with that sort of thing. They see something they don't know and they don't understand, they're gonna point it out. And I wasn't ready to deal with that. Like, I was 18, like, the thing that would cross my mind was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna lose my hair, like, I'm never gonna date anyone." Like, ridiculous. But, so that was one of the sort of key moments. And then I found like a salon who made hair systems, and that gave me my life. And I remember one of the things being told there is like, "You'll have bad hair days, but you won't have a bad hair life." And that really stuck with me. But then it was later, a few months later, and the hair system I had at the time, it was attached, sort of like a weave, so it was attached to your hair on your head. And I just remember the day before, I think the day before my birthday, and I was just like sobbing because I knew at this point, like, oh no, like, it's gone. Like, I cannot. This is not holding on to my head anymore. And yeah, the I think there's key points like that which stick in my head, and to then go and see yourself without hair for the first time was the strangest experience, because I was a bit, it's kind of like, I shouldn't, society has sort of taught me that this isn't normal, this isn't what I should look like, and I shouldn't like what I see in the mirror. But there was a part of me that was like, I'm okay with this, like, this is quite nice. But it's like a really weird thing to go through, and you see your whole
Mm.
appearance change in such a short space of time. Like, it's I definitely think there's like almost been a chemical shift in how my brain works and how I do things now based off of that experience, especially at that age. So yeah, I look back on kind of the last 10 or so years and how different I am now to that person, even when I had hair, to be honest. Like, I'm a girl growing up in this day and age. Of course I'm going to be insecure, but you add that on top of it and it's like, oh, okay, like let's just make it a little bit harder. And I don't regret. I love my alopecia. I love the fact I'm part of this kind of. I say it's like a little secret club, because you can go down the street and you'll see someone, you'll be like, I know, it's okay, I know, like I can see, and you'll never say anything, but it's nice to be part of that community. And now I'm like, I want to sort of shout about it because it's really cool. Like I mean, the one great thing, last week I was really ill and throwing up, vomiting, didn't have to have my boyfriend holding my hair back. So, like, class.
That's a silver lining for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, maybe there's that thing where you kind of build up the end of the road as the most awful thing you could possibly imagine, and when you actually get there, because you built it up so much, like, oh, actually, this, isn't actually as bad as I thought it would be. Perhaps you present as super confident and like you're taking it in within your stride and you're all good. Is that how you feel inside, or are you kind of still working on it a little bit?
I think it'd be obnoxious to say that, oh, I'm definitely, this is it, this is where I'm at. Like, I like to think, I've gone through 29 different iterations of Molly, and each year I like to reflect back and say, okay, there's been an improvement there. But I definitely would say when I first, it took a long time to sort of recognize the impact it had on me mentally. It wasn't just, and also like the physicality of it as well. I race on my bike and like out training, and when it's raining, I don't have eyelashes to protect my eyes from dirt from the road, like, or eyebrows to keep sweat from going in my face, and like that's kind of annoying. Um, but I think in terms of the confidence that I've gained from this, that has, I would say, been in the last. I'd say there was definitely a shift from around 2021 to like significant moments. So 2028 was when I first sort of came out. I was like, hey guys, happened on a Britney. There's a situation. And there was a lot of people in my life who already knew, but I remember that week beforehand, it was so hot. And my mum was like, I didn't want to put my hair on, but I didn't go outside that much. And my mum was sort of like, I was worried you were going to have a little breakdown. But I'm really pleased that you did this, but you had to do it in your own time. And then it was almost, I look back on that year when I did that, and it was great. It was like the response I got from people was amazing. It was like, my mum's got alopecia, my cousin, my aunt. And I thought people were just going to look at me like, okay, we don't care. But that kind of really changed a lot of things for me. But then I would say, you know, following that, like 2020 was quite difficult with it. I mean, everyone was sort of going, like, it was, I felt like I was in a state of flux the whole time. Like I really didn't know what was going on in my life. And then 2021 was really hard. And I then started therapy, and I spoke to, that was something I probably should have done a lot sooner. Because there were,
The same.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's that mentality of, well, you just get on with it. Like it could be so much worse. And agreed. There are so many other people who go through experiences that are way worse, but actually this is what you're going through right now, and it's not healthy to kind of, not to sound like woke or anything, but to gaslight yourself and to say, well, no, like it could be so much worse. Like I went through a loss, I had to grieve that, and once I understood that's what was happening, I think it helped me to kind of become more confident and embrace it a bit more. That's not to say like I haven't had ups and downs. I would be a flat out lie, because I have had some of the biggest ups and some of the biggest downs. And I'd say my hair loss has probably been at the root of a lot of that. But yeah, I think through therapy and like gaining these tools, and also the people you surround yourself with have a huge impact on your own confidence. Like, I'm really lucky that I look back, like, I have some of the most amazing people in my life right now, and having spent, a number of years sort of having, quite a lot of self-doubt and anxiety and bouts of depression, to be honest, like pretty crippling at times. Um, I've got really solid, amazing people around me, and that's helped. And that gives me confidence to kind of be who I am and have no hair. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I keep hearing that so often from people in our community. They're fortunate enough to have these amazing support networks, and I really fear for the people that don't. Like, I don't that to go through that and have the whole world telling you often as just telling you the most awful things, telling you you're worthless, whatever, and to not have people to counterbalance that. I really, yeah, I fear for those people,
Mm,
and I hope those people know to reach out. I something else I'm noticing, like, and it just keeps popping up over and over again, is this idea of it's just a X, and so like it's just a scar, it's just a rash, it's just hair loss. There's this idea that it's just the physical manifestation of the
mm,
condition rather than everything that goes with it. I've got a good friend, Dan, who has a facial scar, and again, he's told it's just a scar. But what that equates to is he's been told openly at job fairs, we can't employ you because of the way you look like a thug. Or he was like top 50 for tennis in the juniors, and he's like 14 years old on a court in, I think he was in India or Eastern Europe or something like that, having fully grown adults leaning over the fences, screaming, shouting at him that they're going to slash the other side of his face, and he's the ugliest thing people have ever seen, and not just isolated incidents, all the time. And then he would also go to the organisers, and they would do nothing as well. So yeah, just a roundabout way of saying that this idea of it's just and you should just crack on with it and you should just get on with it is really frustrating to hear, because as you say, it prevents you from, it kind of starts to affect you, doesn't it? And you think, well, yeah, it's just a rash, what am I making a fuss about? And then you don't get the help that you need, um, and it prevents you from working through it, I suppose.
100%. Like, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, you sort of think that, oh, you're just going to crack on and go about your everyday life and it'll be fine. You can just kind of deal with that, deal with whatever happens. Like, the mental side of visible differences is so much kind of, it has such a big impact on your life. It's way bigger than the actual difference itself a lot of the times. I speak from my own experience. Like, it's the mental side of alopecia that is harder to deal with, and takes a lot longer to kind of wrap your head around and understand why there are certain things that I do now that I didn't do when I was younger. Um, but yeah, it's all, and I think also you're not sure how people are going to respond to you a lot of the time. And I've had some negative experiences. I remember going into, I think it was a petrol station, and walking in there, and I'd had a really good day, and I was feeling super confident. One of my like closest mates, he's a barber, and I went in to see him, and he gave me a wet shave on my head, and I just came out, and I felt so cool. And I think, from being around Ben, like, I've learned a lot from him because he runs a grief charity, and through we ride bikes together, and that's one of the things that we could kind of talk through when we were out training. He kind of taught me that, you've gone through a loss, you have to grieve this, and it is a grief that you've gone through. And I remember, yeah, so he gave me a wet shave, and that experience was like amazing because I could tell he was like, I'm really honored to do this for you because it's such a big deal. Like, you are at your most vulnerable state, and you've trusted me to do this. And I was like, yeah, like, it's you, like, it's cool. And I came, and like, it was funny because I walked in and I had my hair system on, and I was like, let's go for a big dramatic change. Then I like walked out, nothing on. Um, And yeah, so later on in the day, and I like felt really cool. I was walking through London. I was like, yeah, I'm like the best. And then I went to get, all I wanted was a packet of buttons. And then this woman came into the shop, and she'd obviously gone through it. There was some mental instability there, or mental ill health. You know, that's difficult for her to navigate, but she kind of came charging in and then just launched in at me. So I didn't realize it was at me, because all I had was like, oh, don't touch me, don't look at me, don't touch me with your cancer, don't touch me, look at you, you're so ill, like, get out, blah blah blah. And I just remember like wanting the ground to swallow me up, because first, like, I was a bit like, part of me was like, I'm not sick, like, but also I kind of felt like, I felt sorry for her as well, because I was like, you must be going through something here to be doing that. But then there's also that part of you that's like angry that I've been humiliated in a public space, and like I can't react to it because here's someone who's, you know, quite clearly unwell, and you don't know what they've been going through. And I kind of just remember walking out this and like just feeling like really vulnerable, but I physically felt it, like, you know, when you've got like a graze on your skin and you just feel really sort of susceptible to anything happening. And like that just, like, I shut down, I think, for a bit, because I kind of was like, wow, like this is not a great experience to have had.
Do people jump to your aid when you have those experiences? Do people kind of jump in and defend you? Like, I'd like to think that in
Yeah.
society people would do that, but is that your experience?
No, because it's just me and the shop owner in there, and he kind
Okay.
of looked at me and he was a bit like, we don't know what to do. But
Yeah.
I was at a friend's house, and I remember going back to theirs because I just walked down the road a little bit, and um for like a few weeks after, they were like, we know where she lives, we know where she is, like, we're gonna get a cricket ball, I'm gonna throw it at her. And like, that's great. Like, obviously you don't want that to happen, but you're also like, great. I know that there are
Yeah.
people, but you don't know if the general public's going to react like that. And I think there have been certain occasions where I've maybe not been as patient when people stare, and I don't feel good about it, but it's sometimes it just takes over me, and I just go, what? Like, what do you
I
want?
don't think that's the worst thing, Molly.
Yeah.
I really don't think that's the worst thing. I think there's too many of us that
Yeah.
are too scared and too
Yeah.
intimidated and too insecure to say anything, and so they essentially get away with it. I think it's a good thing to have people like you to balance that out a little bit. I think it's like something you learn when you're 3 years old is not to stare at people, and some people seem to not grow past that,
Mm.
and so they'll think twice about doing it next time. So yeah, I wouldn't beat yourself up for that at all.
Yeah. I know. I think it's funny. Like, my partner Ollie, he's like probably one of the greatest people I know. Like, we're so opposite in how we respond to certain things. Like, he can let things sort of roll off his back quite easily, whereas I will, like, it'll fester. I'll like hold on to it. I'll
I'm
remember
like
it.
that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My mum
yeah.
is the same, where like we don't forget these things. Like, it's not good. It's not great at times, but I think he tries to sort of say like, well, you don't. I'm not. And it's not to sort of diminish what I'm sort of thinking and feeling. He obviously gives me that space and lets me do that. But he's kind of sometimes like, they're young, like they're a kid. It's gonna happen. Like, it's annoying and it's frustrating. And then he's like, if anyone ever did anything, like, I know full well he would just jump in and fight them, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like I had that attitude when I was younger, because my parents are super like confident people, I'd say quite likable people. Um, and they instilled that confidence in me. And so primary school and a little bit beyond, I was very much like that. If anyone dared to say anything, I'd just jump down their throat immediately. I think, as you should, really.
Mm.
Um, and then you get to secondary school, and the comments are just so constant that you realise you just can't fight the world. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
you kick off at the first person and the second person, and then by the 10th person, you're just running out of steam, and you just kind of start to think, well, I guess that's the way the world is. Going back to my friend Dan again, it was kind of like
Mm.
he said when he was reporting these things at the tennis competitions. By the 10th time of the organizer saying, "We don't care, mate," you just kind of go, okay, well, I guess this is it then. And so I think people should be more your way and keep that fire a little bit, and not let the world grind you down, I suppose, and keep sticking up for yourself.
Yeah. It can really depend on the day and how I feel about myself
Uh,
in that moment and how I react, because sometimes I'm like, I don't really care. Like, but there can be times where like I feel really self-conscious. And it's not even about my hair, it's like other things, or I'm like frustrated with, I know, something in my life at the time. And that's when I'm then like, oh, just can you just like F off? Like, can you not do this? Because
yeah,
I'm really not in the
yeah.
mood for this sort of thing. Like it's
Yeah, people seem to think that if you have a visible difference, a significant visible difference, that
Mm.
um, that's the only thing you're ever insecure about. And I
Yeah.
was talking to a lady called Chelsea Pete. You
Mm.
know, she's got Sturge-Weber syndrome,
Mm.
but she was talking about when she was younger, she was massively conscious about her hair because she couldn't
Mm.
style it properly. And it's the same with me. You know, like I have days where I'm covered head to toe in rashes, but I grew up really insecure about being a really skinny bloke. I hated that about myself. And so, yeah, everyone's got these normal insecurities that everyone else
Yeah.
has. But then, yeah, on top of that, we get slapped with one of these big
Mhm.
ones on top of that to deal with, which can just sort of tip you over the edge, I suppose.
Big time. Like mine was I struggled with my skin at points when I was kind of a bit younger, and I would always say, hands down, if I never ever got any sort of blemish or anything again, don't care if I never have hair. I want flawless glass skin, like but I really struggled when I changed contraception. So on top of and I went through I was taking Roaccutane for a bit, and if you've ever sort of come across that, it's pretty brutal. Like it was not easy at all. And my immune system was pretty low. I was kind of taking this medication for my skin, and my hair was kind of going, I had no hair and all of that, and it left me really susceptible to infection. So I think I had like staph infection twice on my skin, and it makes you feel like I'm not like gross and dirty, like I'm like super on it with that sort of thing, but that just when it's on your face and you've already got
Yeah,
something
yeah,
else, you're like, I don't care about my hair. I don't care about not having hair. I want like to not have to deal with that. Um But yeah, that was hard. I think that was harder as well because it was just an added extra. And I always felt like with my alopecia, my hair loss, like before I was waiting for this time where like, okay, I can like go outside without hair on when everything else is perfect. When I'm like super lean, like ripped, and I want to be skinny and like obviously not the healthiest way to live. And I want my skin to be perfect and everything else like you know, I was waiting for that and I was kind of pressuring myself into being that person and like I wasn't it's not healthy. It's not easy as well. Like it's you want to make something I don't know. I like an easier way of living. Like I make things stressful enough for myself as it is by just A being like the most disorganized person ever and I struggle with that. Like anything else like that. Like and you know I have quite a lot of insecurities and self-doubt a lot of the time. It kind of comes out in a different way now, but yeah, I just piled this pressure on myself to be perfect
yeah,
and to be, you know, so no one else could look at me and think, "Oh my gosh, she's got like bad skin and
yeah,
no hair." Like, ew,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you remember
ridiculous.
Abigail from the training day?
Yeah,
Yeah, she
I
was saying the
saw
same
her. She,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She said that my face isn't perfect, so everything else has to be.
Mhm.
And yeah, that is exhausting mindset to try and be in. Yeah, and I'm exactly the same. I can totally empathise with
Mm.
that. Everything because you can't. It's the part of you that you can't control. So you kind of almost kid yourself into that you can control everything else. Well, I've got control of the rest of my life, so it's up to me whether the rest of that is perfect. And it's not true, is it?
Mhm.
we were certainly not. You don't want to get in that mindset of we're just passengers and we're along for the ride,
Yeah.
but you also have to accept that there's a lot that is out of your control, and that's hard to come to accept. Because yeah, as you say, you can deal with one thing. I feel like there's a part of us as maybe as humans where if we have our big battle, we can kind of G ourselves up and deal with it head on. Like, this is my thing. I'm going
Yeah.
to deal with this. And then the toaster breaks and you just lose your mind.
Yeah.
It's just
Like
that
one.
that little thing that, yeah, that just like sends you
Completely
off.
agree. Like
Yeah.
I had an experience like a few years ago. I was in end of 2020, 2021. I moved up to Spain. I was racing for a Spanish team over there and thinking like, oh my God, this is gonna be like the best experience ever, like cool, really, really fun. And there was a lot of different things that happened that have taken quite a long time to get over. But I think dealing with there was elements of my alopecia and like the anxiety that kind of came from that and how I was, I don't know, I think trying to people please too much and I had no confidence in my ability to sort of like back myself in situations. Like it was I tried to take on more and more, but I just couldn't. I was so overwhelmed that like I essentially just broke down. Like I wasn't racing well, wasn't training well, I wasn't fueling my body well. I was just like in an absolute state. Like I to the point where I was like, I was scared to go outside. Like I became almost like just so anxious the whole time. And I think from that moment on, there's something I'm like really aware of happening to me because I think sometimes I can have these moments of quite intense anxiety and crippling, like it can floor me for a few days. But that's when I'm like, okay, I need to reach. I wasn't very good at reaching out to people because I'm kind of like, I don't want to put this on you. It's not your burden to like carry. Like, I'm fine. I can deal with this. But yeah, that then sort of spurred me on to really reflect on how my alopecia has impacted me, just how I go into interactions with people, how I engage like in life. Um, but I feel like that was a real turning point because it was like I was seeking this perfection and wanting to be so good at what I was doing, but I just broke down and I couldn't handle it. And it was really not it was quite a dark time, to be honest. Like I look back on it and I think I like blacked out for a few weeks just out of pure kind of depression and anxiety, and like it was really not great. And I look back on that and I like to think like, okay, I've actually come quite a long way since then, and I'm really aware of you know getting into that headspace. Like I know I am confident and I'm happy and content in myself, but there is always that kind of awareness of how I can spiral sometimes. And I think the more am, a- I guess the more open I am about that, the easier it is to like not fall down that hole. Um, and like again, it's having the people in your life that help you. Like I've always been really, my partner and I can have a really open conversation with him about this, and I can talk to him about it, and he's really supportive because that's a partnership. That's a really good person to have in your life. And the same with my parents and my family. Like I can always say, and I remember at the time, like she's my best mate. Like I probably wouldn't have got through that year without her. And it's the same sort of thing. Like you just have those people you can fall back on, and talk to about these things. But yeah, it's a lot of. I'd say there's been a definite sort of internal changes to myself since losing all my hair. Um, and the pressure that you end up feeling for like seeking perfection the whole time, it's not worth it. Like it's really really not, because no one's perfect. Hair, no hair, you know rashes, no rashes. Like no one's perfect, and it's impossible to really, like, why would you want to go put yourself through so much stress and anxiety the whole time? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was
Definitely. Yeah, I just so every single podcast I do, I just like relate so much, and I
Mm,
love how well, I don't know if I love is a weird way to say it, but we're all got different conditions, but it's
mhm,
just all the same stuff, man. Like we're all dealing with such similar things. I mean, you're talking about the anxiety, and
mm,
I can walk into a room and it's almost like the vibe's off, and I just feel
mhm,
immediately mega anxious, and there's nothing I can put my finger on. But for some reason, I just almost can't even talk. I just feel so uncomfortable in myself. And there's other scenarios where it might be in a group with a big group of people, but I feel perfectly comfortable.
mhm.
It's so weird the way that works. I think you'd be a really um, special person, I guess, to have a visible difference and not experience some kind of anxiety. I just think it just goes hand in hand.
Yeah, completely. Like, because you sort of constantly think like someone's gonna say something, or
Totally. Yeah.
like
And
it's.
that's a horrible uh sort of way for your body to be all the time, isn't it? In that constantly anticipating, constantly
Mm.
waiting for it to hit you. That's just got to be so bad for you, generally.
So bad, so unhealthy. And I
Yeah,
said this to
yeah.
Ollie recently. I was like, I feel like I live my life waiting for someone to send me an email to tell me I'm in trouble. He's
Well,
like,
they're mad at you. Yeah.
yeah, like, or like I've done something. He was like, I was like, do you not feel like that? He was like, I have never, ever, like, that's not a thing. I was like, I wake up every day. And he was like, that's not good. It's straight, like, I think that's just anyone who sort of experiences a form of anxiety. Some people it can be fleeting and like they have strategies in place to deal with it. They're definitely a work in progress, and I have definitely the thing that I find is I can end up building so much anxiety, so much of it in my head, and then once I just do what I need to do, I'm like, oh, I'm fine now. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah.
don't know why I was stressing about this so much. Like, and now it's even small things. Like I find, you know, training, getting out on my bike, doing exercise, moving my body, and that's just like the best thing for me. But even that can, if I know like I'm going through a dip in training or whatever it is, I can then feel anxious about that. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm too stressed right now. And then I just go and do it. And I'm like, why was I worrying so much? Like now I feel so much better. But I know
Do you
you
think you'd
do a
be an
lot of,
anxious person? Sorry, do you think you'd be an
no,
anxious person without alopecia, or do you
what,
think that's kind of been the cause? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's just
100%,
it
like,
kind of exacerbated it, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Like
Okay.
yeah, I think I would 100% agree with that. Like I've always felt like that. I can think back to when I was maybe at school or small things. Like I could function, and I was very good at. I was better at being organized with certain things, and I could manage. When I was at school, I was kind of juggling quite a few plates, and I could do it. And I think I almost like when I lost my hair, it was almost like something blocked me from doing everything. And then I'd say like a real, like maybe when I went to university, that was a big change for me because it was, again, I feel like that was the real start point of like some quite, you know, pretty poor mental health, because it was a year after I'd lost all my hair, and I was like, if I didn't want to put my hair on, I like wouldn't leave my room because I wasn't comfortable telling anyone or showing anyone or doing anything, but like the admin of like, you know, putting it on, doing it. And then I was putting on fake eyelashes at times as well, which like people that know me know, like, I don't do that. Like, I was doing it to go out and ride my bike as well. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I would never do that now. But, I was very early on in my hair loss and having lost my eyelashes and everything. And like, I think anyone who has alopecia and experiences that, you'll look back on stuff and you're like, why did I do that? Like, why did I put myself through that? But, university really, I had bad anxiety, like, and I didn't think I could ask for help because it was like, well, I just have to deal with this. Like, there are so many other things like people are going through. Like, I just lost my hair. Like, that's not, oh no, that can't be that bad. But anything that anyone goes to, you need to ask for help and advocate for yourself. And I definitely didn't. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. Whereas now, obviously through therapy, I've learned how to do that. But yeah, I look back on, me 21, 22, probably up until about 24, 25, in those like university years, like not okay. Not okay at all. I mean, like I said earlier on, like I turn 30 next month, like I feel like a different person to that in the start of my 20s, which most people do, but I think especially having gone through, what I've been through with my alopecia and other stuff as well, like it's, yeah, I couldn't, I would never dream of going back to sort of that position.
Yeah, same, same.
Mm,
I think that teens and early 20s is the absolute trenches when it comes to having a visible difference. I think that
mhm,
is, to me, the hardest time by far when you're looking at dating and all you've got is social currency, and social currency is based on a few arbitrary things. Like
mhm,
for a bloke, it's whether you're good at football, whether you can handle yourself in a fight, and
mm,
how attractive you are, and yeah, how attractive you are is such a massive
mm,
one, and it's just brutal. And I guess a little message to anyone who's in their late teens
mm,
and early 20s, it does get easier when you start moving
yeah.
into your late 20s and 30s. I'm 32. I'm loving my 30s so far because you just got your foundation. You just got your base. You're not scrabbling, trying to, you know, make it, I suppose. When you get to 18, 19, you've got your whole life to figure out, and you want to get out and you want to get married and you want to buy a house and you want to
Mm,
X, Y, Z. And when you get to your late 20s, early 30s, you just kind of slow down a little bit, and it does feel a little bit easier, like you said. Just to cover a few of the like kind of the basics, I suppose, of alopecia, just to like cover those, because I deliberately, with this one, with me trying to wing it, didn't do loads of research, so you
no,
can
that's okay.
teach me. Do we know what are the causes of alopecia?
So it can really vary from person to person. For me personally, it was potentially vaccination. So I had the HPV vaccination when I was at school. So that was about 14. You had the first one, and that's when I had some significant hair loss. And then I went through different treatments, and it was all fine. And at that point, I was like, "It's done. Like never again." And then yeah, and then it grew back,
So
and it was
yeah,
all
because I feel
fine.
like anything like anti-vaccine, people
Mm.
kind of go, oh,
Oh,
anti-vaxxer.
I'm not
But
anti-vaccine
like,
at all.
no,
Like,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah. Like,
So is it? So it was just completely linked to that? Do you think that's
we're
interesting?
not too sure, but then I think there might have been something, but then it's like I think the additional side of it was stress, and I at that point I went through not the best time, and I think it exacerbated it a little bit, and then it's like, well, don't be stressed. You're like, I can't not be stressed. Like, I don't know how. Like, it's really weird. Like, I feel like I know my body so well, and recently, like, I've had some like move my partner and I, we moved house, etc. And like that's probably one of the most stressful things that you could do. And I was like, I'm going really badly in training, nothing's going well, like I'm not racing well, I'm just like knackered all the time. And then it was turns out like I sort of had some quite my blood results weren't super great at the time. And then you're like, well, so I've lost all my hair, so there's nothing else for my body to be like, haha, stress, let's do something else. um but yeah, it is one of those things where like it is then stress related, and I like to think I'm like one of the X-Men though, because like my body's attacking itself, so like the only thing that can defeat me is me, and basically Wolverine, but like a hairless Wolverine. Uh,
That seems to be such a like the autoimmune side of things seems to be so common. Like that's the
yeah,
whole kind of crux of my condition is an autoimmune immune
yeah,
situation. It just seems to be the basis of so many conditions. In terms of like treatments for it, is there any treatments for it that you could tell? Are you taking anything if you're comfortable to share that?
yeah. So I don't take anything now. If it grows back, it grows back. Fine. I'm like at the point where I've worked really hard to accept it, that I'm like, "Oh, I don't really want that now," 'cause, like, this has been a long journey. But when I first experienced alopecia, I was actually, like, 4 years old, and I remember there's different, I was taking a tablet at the time. I think it might have been, prednisone. So you have immunosuppressants, which normally work. And then I had no issues, and I was 14 when it started to come back again. And that was when I had, steroid injections in my head. So I had, areata at the time, so it was just patches. So I remember going in for, like, weekly. They would just inject, like, around the patch in your head, which was, yeah, pretty painful. There was
Yeah.
a really lovely nurse and doctor there, like, who, you know, I I was really I'm really lucky in the support that I've had. Like, both my parents have a medical background. My dad's a doctor, my mum was a nurse. So I have always had very I'm very fortunate for the access I've had, and the support I've had in that sense. But yeah, so then, what was another one? Like cyclosporin, the big gold, it looks like
Yep.
a
Done
horse.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a big
that's
old
2 for
thing.
2 for me so far.
Yeah,
Prednisolone and
yeah,
cyclosporine, yep.
yeah. And then, minoxidil, which is
Okay.
like a topical treatment. And then there was loads of other different ones which were like, I remember, like, this really thick like gel stuff I was putting on my hair, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want it, like, gross." Like, I didn't like having greasy hair, so I didn't like that one. And then the last one I tried was, it was it was in the trial period. This was about 11 years ago now, maybe longer, 12 years ago. And they would induce, like, a rash or eczema on your head to see if that would stimulate any hair growth. And over time, like, the acid that they would use would get stronger and stronger. And I think I made it through, like, 2 goes of it, and I was like, I'm not doing this." I lived in North London. It was down in King's College. Like, I didn't wanna do that. That was such a trek, like, it's not that bad now, but at the time when I was younger, I was like, "Oh, it's so far." Like, such a Londoner. Um, like, I'm not doing that. But it wasn't a nice experience, and I just remember, like, I have these memories of certain places and hospitals and them being, like, really, like, dark and grim, and it's funny, like, the associations you make with certain places based off of your experiences. Like, I always think, Nottingham, I had significant hair loss. So Nottingham has always got, like, a little dark rain cloud over it. I go past, like, King's College, little dark rain cloud, and it's just, you sort of have these images of, yeah, things that, yeah, bad experiences. But I remember the King's
Yeah.
College one as well, because I was 18, sort of trying this, and not being funny, I would still do it now. I'm like, I want my mum and dad in here. I don't, like, nearly 30, I would still be like, "Dad, Mum, can you come, please?" Because I trust their opinion, and then, like,
Yep.
yeah, I can handle it, but also, like, I don't have to handle it on my own.
Mhm.
So, and I remember the doctor at the time, I think she was very much like a research professional. Wouldn't say, like, the patient doctor, bedside manner was the best.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
I know
that
the
was,
type.
yeah, and it was, sort of, my mum and dad were coming in. I almost felt like I had to say, like, "No, you can't come in here. Like, I have to do this on my own." Luckily, they did, because my mum was like, "Don't be ridiculous. Like, we want to help and support you." And I remember the lady coming. She was talking through the whole thing, and, like, "Oh, there's like it was like a 20% chance that it will work, and, like, you will probably, it's likely that you'll lose all your hair." And I remember, like, still young, thinking, like, I'm gonna go out and date and do all this. Like, I finished school, like, everything's gonna be great. And then she told me I was gonna lose my hair, and I started crying. It was just like a sort of like a "Ooh." And she looked at me, she was like, "What's the matter with you? Why are you crying?" And I was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, like, I don't know." And my mum was sat in the room, she's like, "I could have decked her."
Ugh.
Imagine saying that to, like, I look back on it now, like, imagine saying that to an 18-year-old girl. Like, what a ridiculous statement to make. of course I'm going to be upset. Like my whole appearance is going to change. I'm going to think like everyone's going to think, I'm going to lose all my femininity. Like everyone's going to think I'm a boy, or like I'm ill, like I've got cancer or anything like that. Not, and for me, like when people think, I don't want people to think I've got cancer, because like I don't want it to take away from anyone who's going through that treatment, because that's incredibly difficult. And also, like, I pride myself on like the fact that I am fit and capable and able to do a lot of things. So it's almost, I don't want people to wrap me up in cotton wool and treat me differently because of that. Um, yeah, I just remember that experience. That was bad. And
I
Sally
would
and
love
of
to speak to. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. I would love to speak to a doctor and just ask them, is there any part of the curriculum when you're learning in your 7 years about bedside manner? Like, I feel like that's an absolute fundamental, because some of the stories I hear are horrendous, like really,
Mm,
really bad. I've had similar ones where I've got this kind of scarring on my neck, which is a little
mm,
bit lighter now. And the dermatologist was saying that the medical term for it is a dirty neck. 9 years old, I was like, that's not right. And I think Mum was in the room with me, and I think she kind of gave him a little bit of grief as well. And
yeah.
they're doing like a physical examination of me, and they're saying, "Oh yes, it's very scaly." Da, 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 da. And I actually did a project last week, and I've got to be careful what I say, because it was with a pharma company, and you can't say flipping anything when you work with a pharma company. But it was basically doing a recording project for healthcare professionals,
Mm,
and that was kind of one of the things I brought up. Like, you need to step out of doctor mode a little bit and remember that you're dealing with something
yeah.
incredibly emotive. You're not talking about someone's liver or someone's kidney. You're talking
Mhm.
about their face. You're talking about the way they look, which is so emotive. It's
Interest. Yeah, I agree.
frustrating.
My dad's a liver doctor, so
Hmm.
when he's going talking to his patients, he's has to be quite thorough and like methodical, and it is, you end up being perhaps a little bit harsher with certain stuff, but that's because
Hmm.
you're like, this is like you could die if you're doing this,
Yeah,
or
yeah. Hmm.
it's, I guess, like the mental impact, it's slightly less with that side of things. I'm not saying like it's not there, and I'm not saying like he doesn't care about that sort of thing, but I think there is like the difference in the way that people manage, like something on your face. Like,
Yeah, of course.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
always gonna be really
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
I'm
So
lucky
would
in
you
the
say with the NHS overall, it's been kind of a mixed bag? Sorry, I keep interrupting
no,
you.
no, that's
Would
all
you say the
right.
NHS, it's been like there's like a delay? There's been a sort of a mixed bag with the NHS.
A little bit, yeah. I think all the times and the experiences I've had, my dad's at the Royal Free in Hampstead, and every time I've gone there, like I feel, partly because my dad and I look identical. So people know, like, they know who he is. So then when they see us together, they're like, "Oh my God, it's Dr. Patch's daughter." Like I feel like red carpet. And like and the people there have been amazing. Like I've had, really, really wonderful dermatologists I've, you know, had treatment from, and they've made a lasting impact on my life, and I'm really, really grateful for that. But I think outside of that, the experiences I've had have maybe not been that positive. But I don't take any medication for my alopecia now anyway, so it's kind of, yeah. I think the thing that I found difficult was the waiting list for kind of mental health support in terms for like dermatology. You know, I remember going for, I think it was like 2019, 2018, speaking to someone, and I didn't have a follow-up until 2022. And by that point, like I'd already started like therapy somewhere else, and I didn't want to change that, because I was like, I'm comfortable here. Like I don't want to change
Yeah,
this. But
totally.
it's like that's a long waiting time. And you just think like, I'm lucky that I didn't get to. I mean, I got help before I got to a point where it was like critical. Um, but there are other people who, that's a long time, like nearly 5 years to wait
Mm.
for support. And someone could have that could have been it. Like it's yeah, I
I
guess.
mean, that's the danger, isn't it, of a visible
Mhm.
difference, isn't it? That's what's not properly recognised, is the mental health effect is dangerous and is urgent, and that is the thing that can be fatal, for sure. And that, yeah, I don't think the urgency's picked up sometimes, which can be a bit
Mm.
scary.
Mm. No, I agree with you. I think like yeah, there's definitely it, it reached real lows, like, and it was kind of my my alopecia exacerbated a lot of that. Um, yeah, I think that's the hardest thing. There's just not the level of support there for it, or the funding. I don't think there's the lack of
Yeah.
sort of care from professionals, but I think it is just obviously the funding side of things.
Yeah, I would say for anyone listening,
Mm.
changing faces can help with that. And so
Yeah.
if you're not getting that, I'm sure Shelley will be very happy with us to drop that in. But yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's help with one-to-one therapy
Mm.
through changing faces. So reach out because they'll probably be able to help with that.
Yeah, the
Is
support's
there
out
any?
there. Sorry, I'm just
No, go on, go on.
no,
No, no,
I
you're
was
right.
just
There's a
I was
horrible delay between
no,
us.
no, sorry. I was just that um, you know, there's changing faces and I do work as well with I host a meeting called Girls Talk with a charity called The New Normal. And I mean I'm the only so far I've experienced like the only one on there with a visible difference. So talking about that in a space where you've got so many people who are going through different things in life, you find commonality and you see the threads that people have I don't know, you pick up on something else. But yeah, that's another like support group that's been really useful for me. Yeah, like changing faces, that media day was amazing because you just sort of felt like not the other, like the outcast. You're like, this is
Yeah, it was
the
surreal.
majority.
Yeah, it was
Mm,
the first time ever. I think most of us had ever
mm,
experienced that, to
mm,
walk into a room and you don't have to feel anxious.
mm,
That was lovely. Yeah, that was good. Something I always like to try and talk about is that I don't know, for my condition, there's a lot of people shilling nonsense, usually just to make money. You know, rubbish medications. You know, the blood of a Nepalese goat or whatever.
yeah.
Is there anything? Is it the same sort of thing for alopecia? Is there things that you could give some advice, I guess, on just to flat out avoiding it because it's nonsense?
Honestly, not really. Like, there's a lot of things. There's like the things that I guess, we have to look out for are like if you need a wig or you need hair, like don't let someone sort of make you feel uncomfortable when you're going like ask for what you want and don't be afraid to say like no, this isn't right for me, like this is how I want it. Like that's fine. I think that took me a little while to sit to be like no, I don't like it like this, like I don't want it like this, like I please change it. Um and also I don't know, like I've not really come across that much. Like that's the kind of main thing. Like there are so many people in the like I see what I see in the community now are just really positive people. The thing that I want to be able to do now is like I never saw in there's you know a few people in sport when I was younger. I saw Joanna Rousel, and she's got alopecia, and I think we both had. She's an Olympian, like she's significantly better than I am, but like also really cool and amazing to see that, to see someone with no hair on racing at the highest level possible. And that's a real kind of aspirational, inspirational person for me to see. And um, I think what I would like to do now is in the wider sort of, media campaigns, whatever it is, like actually seeing someone that looks like me, because that would have changed my life when I was 18 if I'd seen someone in a campaign with no like a woman with no hair, like, would have been amazing because you kind of especially when I was a teenager, it was that, like, size 0, like, everyone has to look skinny and perfect and whatever, and actually you've gotta have this amazing hair to kind of be taken seriously in society. Actually, like, seeing seeing someone that looks like me, so much better. So like, for
Yeah,
everyone as well, like, it's
yeah, yeah.
just
Yeah, it's
normalizes
kind of
something.
selfishly. I used to hear that all the time, like, "Oh, you need representation," and kind of think, "What are you talking about?" But now I really get it, and I think it makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important. I'm glad that a lot of the charities like Changing Faces are
Mm.
really kind of pushing it really hard. Just to cover this really quickly, in terms of wigs, do the NHS provide wigs, or is this something that you need to kind of go private for?
They
Or is it
do,
like the
but
glasses where if you want them, then not to
mm,
look like jam jars, then you need to pay some money?
yeah, they're. I remember going to. Oh God, it was. I went with my mum, and I still like. I just. It was not good. I think they're very different now, but I have gone privately. Like I would. I've. It's funny because I found where I get my hair system made. I have a weird thing. Like I don't like calling it a wig because
Okay.
it's no. It like there's certain things where I'm like that's a wig. Like I'll wear that. Like that's my fun sort of. I'll wear it for a day, but then I have a hair system because it acts exactly like my hair. Like fits comfortably on my head. I can do everything and anything in it. I can swim in it. It doesn't come off. I can, you know, I ride my bike. Like I actually ride a train with hair on, which people are a bit like, why do you do that? And there's a few reasons because it absorbs sweat a little bit, which is kind of gross, but also like necessary. And when you get a bug that goes into your helmet, it feels so gross on your head. So like it's sort of that thing. And it's like a protective element as well from the sun. Like I train I do ride without hair on as well, but like then I'll get a stripy head. Um which from like a tan line. But yeah, that's there are so many different places to get hair now. Like that's the change I've seen in the last 10 years where there's like so many people are doing it ethically, people are wanting to make good hair because they've gone through hair loss themselves. So they understand, what other women, men are going through. So they want to try and provide like the top quality service. And I think there was one I did a shoot for Amber Jean shop, Amber Jean Rowan, like few years ago now, and she makes her own hair. She's a model with alopecia, and we're like such a. This is the sort of the small world we live in. So years ago, when I first got my first hair system made, I remember going and they showed me what how it worked and what I could do, and they showed me this picture of her, and I just remember being like, "Oh my gosh, she's stunning!" Like I can look like that. And then to meet her properly and do this shoot for her own brand, it was kind of like a big like a full circle moment for me because it was a bit like, well, now I've seen that I've seen how I can live with hair and have a good hair life, but now I'm comfortable enough to be without it and to do something like this. And I remember after that, like, I don't think I wore hair for about 2 months because I was like, I don't need to, I don't want to. And that was really liberating for me to sort of be in that environment. But yeah, NHS wigs, not too sure. I think for younger people, sorry, I went in a really roundabout way to get there. Um,
No, please, please.
that's, I'll get to the point eventually.
No,
um,
honestly, it's so much better when a guest like you that's happy
yeah,
to chat rather than the other way around. So please, no time.
okay.
Like, when do you have to go to your casting call? I'm
Oh,
conscious of taking too long.
sorry, no, I'll probably have to leave in like half an hour or so, if that's okay.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's
Yeah, we
cool.
got
Yeah,
time.
that's fine.
But yeah, maybe 20 minutes because I do need to put a bit of makeup on. Sorry.
That's fine. No, no,
um,
that's fine. No worries.
but yeah, I'd say there's
You kind of have your wig now as like
mm,
a if and when you need it, but not every day. But if you're like particularly struggling, then you'll wear it. Is that you kind of have it as a tool in your back pocket? Sorry, your hair
yeah.
system. Sorry.
No, that's fine because I do have like it's one of those I don't mind when I feel like I need to say that's how what I call it because it's just my own personal preference. But I don't mind it
Okay.
when other people say it. Like it's not I don't get offended
Yeah,
or
yeah,
anything like
yeah.
that. Um No, I do. To be honest, like I actually do wear it like most days, but I'll take it off as and when. Sometimes I'll wear it for a bit longer. Sometimes I won't wear it at all for like I don't know 2 weeks. Um, but I don't feel like it's a comfort blanket for me anymore, which is nice. But there are certain places, like you know, at where I work part-time somewhere now, and, like, I'm not comfortable yet going in without hair on there. Although it wouldn't be an issue, there is, like, an element of maybe, like, I don't it's just it doesn't feel right to me just yet, which
Just not
is
ready yet, yeah.
yeah. And, like, people know, people are like, because 'cause I've changed, like, I've had long hair and then I've had short hair, but I think it's yeah, I think maybe that's probably one thing where I'm like, that's where I feel like I need it. Um, because I'm not sure what sort of questions I'll get asked, and I think sometimes, like, I don't wanna open myself up to a question that will unintentionally offend me, and I
Mhm.
just that's not yeah, I think that's not quite right. But yeah, like, it really varies, to be honest. Like, I probably won't wear it for a few days this week. When it's hot, I don't wear it because I, like, don't wanna have I get really bad tan lines from cycling anyway. So, sometimes they're so bad, like, I have to even out.
I think it's so good if you can find those tools though. If
Mm,
you can find them, don't be scared to use them. For me, it's skin camouflage, um, and or like there's some sun cream by Altruist that has sort of anti-redness pigmentation. It doesn't
yeah,
even need to be this whole sort of makeup routine.
yeah.
Having that in my back pocket is awesome. To know that if I'm really struggling and I've got a social event, slap that on and I'm all good. Like it's just the freedom to know that if it does go completely wrong the day, I'm all good. I've got something that can help with it. It
Mm.
makes such a big difference.
No, I would agree with that. Like, I think that's the one thing that I would always want to reiterate as well is like, no one's
Mm.
forcing me or anyone else. If you have alopecia and you're like, I don't want to go out without my hair on, fine. Like, no, there's no rule to say like you have to. And that's something that I've struggled with where I'm like, I'm open about it now. I have to go out without my hair every day. And I'm like, sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I like having
Mm.
hair is fun. Like, that's the thing where I'm like, I want to, it's fun. I like looking good with a fringe. Great. Like, that's part and sometimes I'll have an outfit and I'm like, "This looks good with hair, this doesn't look good with hair." And,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
having that choice is really liberating, but if you're not there yet, then there's no one can tell you when to do it and when to feel
yeah,
ready
yeah.
to, like, I think
We've
that's
all got to
one
stop double guessing ourselves a little bit too much. I
mm,
think we're just constantly trying to figure it out based too much on other people's opinions sometimes. Like I think there's a lot of these influencers which in some ways are fantastic in that they, spread an awareness and you see people like you and blah blah blah. But then sometimes people get caught in what they do and think what they're doing's got to be right. Like I keep
yeah,
seeing too much of influencers almost shaming people for not just going down the natural route with whatever natural means. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like if you can't cure yourself with fruit juices and meditation, then there's something to be ashamed of. Like if you, I saw one the other day where she had to go on. She just finally went on to methotrexate, and it was like this confession video. Like I'm so
mm,
sorry that I've got to do that, and I just think that's completely ridiculous. If you need medication,
yeah.
absolutely try and heal it with without heavy medication. But if you can't, there's no shame at all in
Oh my god,
doing
no.
whatever you need to do.
No, not at all, like, I'm completely open about it, like, I've always I my anxiety got so bad that I had to start taking medication for that. Like, I'm very open about it. I think it's been it's transformed my life. I don't think it's just solely medication, but I think it's definitely been a key part of, helping me just to manage just the everyday things. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's wild, like how many people, once you say that, so many people are like, oh yeah, me too. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, it's not this big taboo thing. Like, if it's there, use it. Like, it might change your life. It might not work. And like, you have to go back to square one again. And like, you've tried it though. And if sometimes like, I don't think if you absolutely categorically do not want to, then no one should ever force you to. But I'm always of the opinion like it's there. Like I want to try it because I know myself and I know that doing anything naturally, like it doesn't always work for me. Like I will
Mhm.
at some point spiral. But if I can make that spiral a bit less, like I will always do everything to kind of put that in place, like to ensure that
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. If if I'm going over time, please just say,
Yeah.
for anyone listening, Molly is a Zebedee model, and so she's got a casting thing later, so she's got to shoot off in a little bit. And when we
Yeah.
went to when we went to the media training, we were having professional photos taken, and I was put with Romeo and Molly, who are both Zebedee models and know how to look fierce, which was great in one way because they could give me some tips, but it was also
Yeah.
a little bit daunting. But yeah, just let me know if you need to go. There's something I
Please
want to
do.
touch on. I don't know if this is a bit of a weird thing and probably way behind the times, but I was just really curious of what your opinion was. Actually, unfortunately, the way culture seems to be shaped is through media and big business and often sort of viral clips nowadays, unfortunately. And a big one, very, very, very big one recently was when Will Smith got on stage at the Oscars and hit Chris Rock because Chris Rock was essentially mocking his wife who has alopecia.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think everyone's in agreement, shouldn't use violence, shouldn't be hitting people, even though I'm very tempted to sometimes. What's your take on that? How do you feel about that whole situation?
Well, there's a part of me that's like, get him, which obviously like you shouldn't because like that's awful. Like like violence is never the answer, but I can understand it where you have something just takes over your body, and it's like an out of body experience. Where you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I've done that. Like I would never try. I would always try and use my words to with anything like that. But then at this, that sometimes you can just be stuck in the moment, and like you can be stunned, and you just feel so mortified by like Chris Rock, tasteless. Like I like him as a comedian. I'm all for having a joke and a laugh, but that wrong time, wrong place. Like know your audience, and also you cannot lead those jokes. Like I said it at the start, like I'm always the one. Any situation like that, like I have to lead it. I'm the one who can like say that. He can't say it because he's not experienced it. And like for me, I remember when I opened up about my alopecia, it was actually after Jada had done her Red Table talk and spoken about it. And I remember seeing that and being like, I'm going to do that. Not at the same scale, like to my 5 followers who are going to be like, wow, amazing, like great. It was really positive and powerful for me to see someone like her talk about this because you just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Like I'm obviously very anti-violence, and the stance, like how Will Smith kind of handled that situation, but I understand it because he's protecting his partner and his wife. Like, you know, not quite the right thing, but I think both parties like should probably do a little bit of self-reflection and think like maybe we don't, yeah,
It
like
frustrates me because I feel like comedians will often say like we need free speech, we need to be able to say whatever we want, we need to be to mock whatever we want. It's like yeah, but you don't mock whatever you want, do you? You don't make jokes about race, you don't make jokes about disability, you know that's off the limits, and so why is a acid attack survivor? Why are they? Would you mock them? And if you wouldn't mock them, so what is the line? What 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 level of visible difference do you think is or isn't acceptable? And as you talk
mm,
about the mental health struggles that you've dealt with from alopecia, I
mm,
think they need to be a bit more aware that ultimately there are some things that are off limits, and it's kind of not the cool thing to say because you want to be able to say, "Oh no, you can mock and joke about anything," but we all know that we live in a society where you can't, and so
yeah.
hopefully we kind of become a bit more protected in that sense,
Mm.
I suppose.
Well, I think it's just like leading every interaction you have with a bit of empathy. Like I like to think I'm funny. My brothers might
I
say
would
no.
agree.
You're not. But even, like for example, with them, like they're funny, like they're really, really funny, but they would never go into kind of taking the piss out of someone with like malice. And even that's something that people have to kind of, like you said at the start, like towing the line, you know, people need to know where the line is. And there's some people who just go a bit too far over. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and if they're not willing to take accountability for doing that, then that's where the issue is. Like, I'm all for someone kind of recognizing, reflecting, and saying, like, hey, look, like, I messed up here. Like, I'm really sorry for causing offense. I need to do some self reflection and improve, blah, blah, blah. And if you see that change, it's all well and good someone saying that and they don't actually do anything differently. Great. Um, like, they can stay in the bin. But yeah, if someone's not like willing to kind of hold their hands up and say, "Mm, I messed up, then that's where it's kind of like, you're not worth the time, you're not worth the energy.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
good to give him the opportunity to do that. It's like with
Mm,
Oliver's story with being told to leave that restaurant. I thought he handled
yeah.
it really well and that he gave them the opportunity to apologise. Unfortunately, they didn't. So as you say,
Mm,
they can stay in the bin, which
yeah.
is a nice way to put it. But I think that it's good to not get into the habit of just trying to cancel people all the time, even though there's that massive pull to
Mm,
get the pitchforks out and chase them down the street. It's
yeah.
better to educate, isn't it? Even though
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is so emotive.
No, I completely agree. And I think that's how, like, you know, to be empathetic, you have to learn that. Like, it's not a skill that people are
Uh,
born with. Like, some people, it comes
uh-huh.
quite naturally to them, but, everyone has to educate themselves a little bit and like how to respond to things. Like, it's so because it's so easy to just fly off the handle almost sometimes.
Uh,
Like, it's almost like you have that knee jerk reaction, but actually to take a moment and say like Oliver, how he handled that
uh,
situation was honestly, like, I
yeah.
don't know if I could have done the same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And if anyone listening does ever fly off the handle,
Mm,
don't beat yourself up for it because that's someone talking about your biggest insecurity and often a health condition. So if you do not handle it in the best way, don't beat yourself up. Just try and learn for the next one. To
mhm.
try and end on a positive note, what is something that you're hopeful for in the future? And that can be personal, that can be to do with your health, anything.
Oh, I think, do you know what? I'd like to be able to share my experience with younger people, and I don't necessarily look at my life and think I've been like the most successful person ever. There are things that I still want to achieve, in sport, in racing. Um, and that's definitely up there. But I'd like to take what I've learned from especially the last 12 or so years, and to be able to kind of use my experiences to say, to talk to, I don't know, help out younger people going through anything similar. It might not be the same thing, but actually just to tell them like it will be fine. Like, not, one of those classic things that everyone probably says, like, oh, you don't know what you're gonna, like, your life is gonna change like so much in like those years. Like when you're 18, like you decide to do this, like it's never gonna happen. Like, but that's genuinely the case. Like, I look back on when I was 18, and I'm only just sort of starting to figure out what I want to do now. But yeah, I think just to be, I don't know, hopefully someone that people can look up to and see, like, what you look like doesn't really matter. Like, it shouldn't stop you from doing what you want to do, and like, yeah, that's, I've sort of got there in a bit of a rubbish answer. Sorry, but
No,
I feel
no,
like
not
it's
at
one
all.
of
Not at all. I think you're a perfect ambassador for that. Seriously, I think your brothers will deny this, but you're quite a cool person.
Oh my
You're
god,
funny and you're easy to
stop.
talk to. I know it's on camera, it's recorded.
Yeah.
I think that it's really important having people like
Mm,
you in our community that, you know, we it sounds so obvious, but we're just normal people
yeah.
that just, happen to have this often a health condition that we're dealing with. It's why at the start of all my podcasts, I try and just like put in a little bit of preamble just of
Mm,
us chatting, because then some people are like, oh yeah, it's just a normal person that looks a bit
mhm.
different. Yeah, I think you're really important for our community, and so thank you so much for all the work you're doing. Thank you for being super friendly on the media training day. It was really really nice to meet
Oh my
you,
god, it was so
and
much
helping me
fun.
out with the. It was great, and helping me out with the photo shoot. That was very nice of you, not taking the piss out of me too much.
Not, you were a natural. You just got that blue steel on straight away. It was great. Roby
I
and
wish
I
that was
were
true.
like, our work here is done. We need to do no more.
Best of luck at your casting things, and I
Thank
hope it
you.
goes all right.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully, are you going to the thing on the 17th of August?
I need to check because I might be in Sweden. I'm racing that
Oh, okay.
weekend, so it might be a bit
If
difficult.
it changes your mind, we are going to be playing rounders. So
Oh
just putting
no,
that out
don't
there.
don't do that. Like, I'm so disgracefully competitive, like with rounders as well. Like, it's not good. I remember having an argument with a teacher at school when we played against like another school because she thought I was definitely not out. But yeah,
Still to this day, you hold on
I
to
remember.
that.
I hold on to it. I remember exactly. I remember the teacher. I remember it so clearly. But nice.
No, it's
Well,
awesome to talk to you. Thank you
yeah,
so
you
much.
too. Thank you for having me.